4,500 years ago, engineers in ancient Egypt stacked stone upon stone to build a monument 147 meters high. They did it without bulldozers, without cranes, and without even the simple wheel. The materials they used weigh roughly 6 million tons. To put that in perspective, the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building on Earth today, weighs a mere 500,000 tons. Because this structure is so massive and so ancient, it creates a historical blind spot. We lack the step-by-step blueprints or construction logs from the architects who designed it, and human psychology avoids a vacuum of knowledge. When we stare at an ancient marvel and lack a concrete, documented explanation, we start filling the void with our own sensational ideas. Some theorists look at ancient carvings and claim the pyramids were massive electrical power plants. They point to these bulbous shapes and snake-like forms as proof that the Egyptians had mastered the light bulb. In 1998, American politician Ben Carson proposed his own personal theory. The structures were built to store massive amounts of grain for the biblical Joseph. The archaeological record points to a specific reality. Scripts found inside other pyramids and burial customs across Egypt confirm these were built as grandiose tombs to secure a prosperous afterlife for monarchs like Pharaoh Khufu. Relying on fiction to fill our gaps in understanding ignores the tangible clues left behind, the physical evidence that shows how a Bronze Age society organized itself to achieve the seemingly impossible. For centuries, a persistent myth, started by ancient Greek historians, has painted the construction site as a brutal camp where starved, brutalized slaves were whipped into hauling rock. Excavations of the towns where the builders lived show a different picture. The 20,000 to 30,000 people who worked on the pyramids were highly skilled laborers who were well-fed and provided with an abundance of meat and resources. This core workforce was supported by citizens from across the kingdom. During the agricultural off-season, farmers would travel to the site to lend their strength to the construction. The pyramid stands as a masterpiece of national logistics and civic duty, where entire communities united to build for their nation. Even with a willing workforce, the logistics remain a puzzle. The builders had to move millions of tons of rock, some individual stones weighing up to 80 tons, all without the use of wheeled carts. A 2014 physics study provided a practical explanation. Researchers looked closely at an ancient tomb painting that showed workers pulling a massive statue on a sledge. In the painting, one man stands at the front, pouring a liquid directly onto the sand. This data visualization illustrates what the researchers tested. On the left, we see the high friction generated when pulling a heavy mass over dry sand. On the right, adding between 2% and 5% water to the sand significantly changes the ground's resistance. The wet sand acts like a rigid track. Achieving this specific ratio effectively halves the amount of force required to pull the sledge, making it possible for a team of humans to haul colossal weights from the river to the site. They moved millions of tons of rock through a mastery of environmental physics. Getting the stones to the base of the pyramid is only the first step. The builders then had to lift those multi-ton blocks and carefully stack them 147 meters into the sky. In 2015, archaeologists working in an ancient quarry discovered the remains of a 4,500-year-old wooden ramp system, proving the existence of sophisticated scaffolding infrastructure. This schematic breaks down the theorized method. Instead of dragging blocks straight up a steep face, engineers used long, shallow inclines. By wrapping tension ropes around wooden pillars mounted on the sides of the ramp, they created the mechanical leverage needed to pull the blocks upward. Once a block reached the correct tier, researchers suspect the workers employed a series of wooden levers to precisely lift, turn, and guide the stone into its final position. We know this mechanical logic was deeply embedded in their culture. A similar counterweight lever system, known as the shaduf, has been used by Egyptians for millennia to draw water from the Nile. With ropes, shallow inclines, and wooden levers, the ancient Egyptians possessed all the necessary scaffolding to construct a mountain. The physical lifting was matched by an incredible feat of planning. The sides of the Great Pyramid align with true north, south, east, and west, with a margin of error of just 1/15 of a degree. This diagram shows how they could achieve this without a compass. During the autumn equinox, sunlight casts a perfectly straight-line shadow from a vertical rod. mapping a flawless east-west axis on the ground for accurate directional plotting. This level of precision was the direct result of applying a scientific understanding of geometry and celestial mechanics. Even with these practical explanations, some still search for hidden celestial patterns. In 1989, a popular theory claimed the 3 pyramids at Giza were intentionally mapped to match the stars in Orion's belt, but modern astronomers have debunked this. The position of those stars has slowly shifted over the last few millennia, meaning the constellations do not match the ground layout when the pyramids were actually built. Debunking a myth doesn't mean we have all the answers. Given a 20-year construction timeline, the workforce would have had to perfectly place a heavy stone every 3 minutes, every single day. Then there is the earthquake-proof mortar binding the stones together. Modern chemists have analyzed its exact elemental makeup, yet laboratories still cannot recreate the compound. Encountering things we cannot yet explain is a feature of true scientific inquiry. It marks the edge of our current knowledge. Attributing the pyramids to magic or outside forces is an intellectual shortcut. It dismisses the hard work of actual research and strips ancient humans of credit for their own remarkable achievements. We must acknowledge the hard facts we have proven, clearly define what we still don't know, and leave the door open for future archaeologists to solve the remaining mysteries. The Great Pyramid stands as a monument to the boundless potential of human cooperation, environmental engineering, and the ongoing scientific pursuit of the truth.